Today. Okay. And I'll be deliberating on a very, very contemporaneous topic, a topic which has been debated since 1860, from Adam Smith days to the current pandemic days, and a topic which has stood the test of time and still being debated across the corporate world. There are two things that I would like to be, there are two sessions that I'm going to take you through. The first session is about the theoretical part of the theory, especially the economics theories as such, and how do these economic theories have relevance in today's practical corporate world. And moving further, what are the legal implications of such dysfunctional, when I have used the word dysfunctional behavior in the title, what does it actually mean, and how does this dysfunctional behavior be arrested through some of the latest developments that has taken place in the legal context with respect to the corporates. So the second part will be on the law part, and the first part is on the economics and business part. And in a way, I'm trying to kind of integrate two or three disciplines. We being the commerce and management teachers, I would say that we are the offshoots of economics, even though some commerce and management teachers don't accept that. I hope as a discipline they will accept, but with the teachers they have differences of opinion. But you have to accept the fact that some of the things which are going to be discussed today will have a larger relevance to the economic theories, right from Adam Smith to, say, the latest. In 2017, Oliver Hart got a Nobel Prize for his theory called as contract theory, where he uses the word dysfunctional behavior. So I would like to get through that journey till Oliver Hart and get some real corporate examples, how these theories can be reconciled with the corporate evidences, and then what is the answer, what is the way out. And now that we are in a COVID situation, whether this COVID situation is an inflection point, is this a point where we are going to add a lot of teeth to the law so that the dysfunctional behavior among the corporates can be to a large extent tamed? Let us see. Now we will have a discussion towards the end. And I'm here as a fellow teacher, and since I'm on the other side, I may be called as a resource person, but you're all my co-teachers. You can always pitch in wherever you want to, and we shall have a discussion at the later stage. So let me start. I'll start now sharing the screen. I think, is it visible? If one of you say yes, I'll start. I'll go ahead.
Yes, sir. Visible, sir.
Okay. This is the title that I have for you. I'll start. Say this. Yes. Yes, Shiv Shankar. Okay, na.
Visible, sir. Visible.
Aita. Dodu madbeka. Say.
Sir, enough.
Is this okay? Is this okay?
Okay, sir.
Okay, my sir.
Okay, fine.
Okay.
Yes. See, these are some of the headlines that we see in business papers, journals, and magazines every now and then. I'm just going through that. Let's see. Losing faith. A lot of recent corporate scams have contributed to a low trust environment. Bush and Steel siphoned off more than 2,000 crores. 2,000 crores of public money. And he was sent to the judicial custody. And he was the first one to send through a special a serious fraud investigation office, which was established in 2012-13. And Tata Steel took over Bush and Steel. But the amount of scam was around 35 crores. Everybody knows this particular fellow is still at large. He has to be deported back to India. And see the amount of public money that he has siphoned off, 13,800 crores. And he did it with, along with a coalition with the PNB officials also. PNB officials were also charge sheeted and removed. Gitanjali Group, Mehul Choksi, 3,002. I'm just taking the headlines. Religare, 740 crores fraud. 1% beverages, fudging of accounts. Enron, this is the giant of all the scandals which happened in early 2000 in US. Actually, this scandal started kind of making the debate as to whether this scandal is only an accounting related scandal or is it something else. And Satyam is called as India's Enron. And on those days, all these people who were good copywriters said, all that is there about Satyam is Asatyam. 1 + 1 is equal to 11, Satyam equation. Volkswagen, yes. It's a company which has built trust over 150 years because of one dubious decision that was done in the US market. Fell from Hall of Fame to Hall of Shame in a matter of 15 days. And no discussion on corporate frauds would be complete with this man. Because the moment I use, take his example, all the audience are divided and still there is a large number of people still are fans of Vijay Mallya in spite of what has happened now. And they have their own arguments for that. We shall see that later. Ranbaxy was called as a dirty pill because it used substandard chemicals, materials for South African market, and it was caught. And fund diversion, very recently, Yes Bank diverted the funds to the tune of 3,700 crores. Cox and Kings, a travel giant, and the scam is estimated around 20,000 crores. You just named that, it is all in crores and crores of public money, hard-earned public money. Ambani brothers, if one Ambani is doing great things and the other Ambani is exactly on the opposite side, only because he was into lots of diversification of the businesses on which he did not have any expertise. Fortunately, he has his elder brother, probably he'll bail him out sooner or later. And these are the falling fortunes of Anil Ambani. And in January 21 this year, even SEBI fines Mukesh Ambani for insider trading. Now, if you look at these these headlines, I would like to make this presentation in this order. One is I would like to get in with the economic theories, economics, then the corporate evidences, and the judicial trends. Okay, the premise is this. Now, these are the words I'll be using more often and often in this presentation. One is moral hazard is on the rise. Say these are the words which I've taken purely from the economic theories. I'll come to those theories where who has made these words public, in the sense that who has researched this. Lemons are all over the place. Dysfunctional behavior. All corporates show, many of them, dysfunctional behavior because the reward is on the measurable performance. Now, coming to COVID, whether these fraudsters or these people who misuse or abuse public money, is this time a breeding time for lemons? Or does it weed out lemons? Or is it the inflection point where we are looking at a more moral economy? Are we at a stage where all these will be a thing of past and the technology will take over and all these people will find it very difficult to commit any frauds? Are we in that inflection point? Let us discuss at the end of it. And this is the question that I would like you people to just give me inputs on the basis of whatever presentation that I do and whatever information that you have. Now, in 1776, Adam Smith, when the corporation form of government came into existence, as you know, corporation form of government where money comes from one angle and expertise comes from another angle. In the sense, there are two important factors of production called as labor and capital. Labor is called as the expertise. Capital is called as money. Now, owners bring in money, shareholders bring in money, managers bring in their expertise, experience, and these two factors of production, that is capital and labor, synergize itself into a formal organization structure in a business model, which we call it as corporation. We call it as joint stock companies, the multinational companies that we talk about. So, Lakshmi comes from one angle, Lakshmi and Saraswati, I would say. Lakshmi comes from shareholders, Saraswati comes from managers. It is on the premise that people who have money does not have the expertise, and people who have the expertise does not have the money, so that let these two factors of production come together. But Adam Smith then, long back, 250 years ago, had this apprehension saying that when these managers sit on public's money, will they watch it with the same vigilance with which the owners themselves watch their own money? Is there a chance of extravagance? Is there a chance of negligence? Will they misuse public money? Is there a chance of abusing public money? So he said, there is a chance. He had that apprehension way back in 1776 only. Then, over a period of time, as we see lots of corporate scams, there was an article in 2019 Economic Times that Indian corporates particularly have this tendency of committing frauds, and therefore the role of gatekeepers of corporate governance, independent directors, rating agencies, and auditors have come under public scanner. There is an aura of erosion of trust among the corporates. Then during this pandemic, when pandemic started, an Ernst & Young report said, now this is the time where fraudsters thrive, because the pressure to stay afloat may supersede the need to conduct business in the ethical way. So there could be possible compliance violations and management overrides because they are acceptable in these extraordinary times. So we do not know yet, as the pandemic subsides, how many companies are now going to come out of the cupboards. Let us see that. Now, in this context, these are the theories that I'm talking about. These are all theories given by noted economists. Agency theory by Jensen and McLean. He talked about managerial behavior in a diffuse ownership structure. Now, what is a diffuse ownership structure? A diffuse ownership corporation is one which has got many shareholders spread across the globe, and they are dispersed. Say, none of the promoters do not have the control. I mean to say, there is atomistic competition. There is something called as atomistic competition, means no individual investor or a group of investors have got control over the buying and selling of the shares, or they have a control over fixing of the prices of the shares in the market. Everybody is on an equal playing ground. In that structure, he gives his theory. And contract theory, from where I have taken the word dysfunctional behavior, Oliver Hart, he got a Nobel Prize for Economics in 2017 called as contract theory. I want you people to read through this theory. It's a very good theory, which has got an implication for all the corporates. And then we have information asymmetry theory. This is where the word moral hazard and lemons were propagated by Akerlof. And then Modigliani and Miller's capital structure theory. I think some of you might, teaching finance would be teaching this also. They talk about what should be the extent of debt in the capital structure so that you create value to the shareholders. And the traditional trade-off theory, again, an extension of capital structure. In all these theories, they say that you should be very cautious about using debt in the capital structure, because excessive use of debt in the capital structure will spell doom if you are not careful. If you look at some of the corporate wrongdoings, you can definitely see that this particular theory, which gives so much of inputs to prudent practice, have been violated grossly by these corporates. And also, it also says, whenever you go for an unrelated diversification, it is appropriate that you fund these diversifications through equity, not through debt. And most of the corporates did not heed to their advice, and it spelled doom for them. Let us see. Let us see. So now, a modern corporation, as you know, there is a separation of ownership and control. And why people would like to buy the shares and become the owners of a company? Because they enjoy limited liability, means their liability is restricted to the amount invested by them in the business. It will not extend to their personal assets. And the modern dictum, you know, what is the dictum that the owners give to the shareholder, owners give to the managers? They say that we hire you as agents, we give you whatever you want, we give you good compensation, but in turn, you take such decisions that maximizes our value. Now, when is maximization of value to the shareholders happen? When the market value of the shares held by them attains higher values. Therefore, shareholders, in other words, owners, direct the management or the managers to take such decisions that enhances their value in return for agency costs. Now, what are agency costs? The costs which are incurred by the owners on the managers in terms of salary, compensation, packages, perquisites, bonuses, stocks, whatever. It's a huge money. See, agency costs are huge. Executive compensation is huge. Why do the shareholders are ready to pay such hefty sum to the managers only to make their interest align with the interest of the owners? See, understand this. Alignment of shareholders' interest with the manager's interest. In order to make that alignment possible, they give them handsome, good salary, good compensation package. So they are huge. So now, will they do though? Will they do so? The $1 million question is, in spite of taking all that benefits, whether the management does it or will they engage in self-serving, value-reducing behavior? We have seen in many of the cases that I have now put before you, people, the managers, since they have been not monitored closely, they have been given such autonomy to take decisions on their own. Sometimes they abuse that autonomy. They are in a dominant position. Nobody is observing them. We think that they are doing a good job for the shareholders, but unfortunately, sometimes they indulge in self-serving behavior, and that is very costly to the organization. And all the companies which have fallen flat are because of the self-serving decisions taken by these managers. But is it a rule? No, they're all exceptions to the rule. There are still a large portion of companies which are getting the benefits of separation of ownership and management. But some of them, as an exception, these are some of the companies in which the managers have displayed dysfunctional behavior, and thereby they try to take decisions in their personal interest rather than in the interest of the owners. Now, this slide in the context of my presentation is very, very important because this has been given in agency theory. Now, can we see this happen in corporate world? Yes, very much. Will they award themselves excessive compensation? After becoming the CEO, will they award themselves excessive compensation? You just try to browse what is the compensation package for the top CEOs in India. They run to millions and crores sometimes. Will they unnecessarily award themselves excessive compensation? There are many instances. Will they manipulate earnings and dividends? Yes. In Enron case and in Satyam's case, this has been clearly been evident. They manipulated earnings more than what they really earned, and they manipulated dividends also. Did they maximize the size of the firm rather than its value? Say many of the Indian conglomerates, as you know, will be on an acquisition spree. They try to acquire many businesses, though it is not related to them. And they indulge in something called as empire building. In spite of being a failure, they do it. Why? You can just see on the slide, failure seems to go to their heads, not the success. Even if it is a failure, they don't want to accept. They would like to still go ahead. They will say, yes, this is just one-off incident and I'll be successful. But when they go on an acquisition spree, the two examples are, again, our Vijay Mallya's and Anil Ambani's, a classic case of empire building and a failure. And then siphoning off of corporate assets. Will they take the cash flow from the focal firm and they create their own firm headed by their own wife, children, and relatives? Do they do so? Will they take the money out of the company and then start their own businesses? Yes. Is it a case of excessive diversification? Just see the spelling there. When they go for excessive diversification, all our theory says go with equity, but most of them have gone with debt and it has diversed. And packing the board, when they do all these dubious decisions, let me tell you, there is a syndicate. It is not being done by one man. The entire board of directors are together. It's a syndicate. So everybody is a party to that fraud. So all this, this is being given in the theories. I'm just giving you the theoretical part. Now, the contract theory, I'm just giving you just the snippets. Shivshankar. Hello, Shivshankar. ಶಿವಶಂಕರ್ ಅವರೇ, ನಿಮ್ದು ಇದನ್ನ ಆಫ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಡಿ, ವಿಡಿಯೋ ಆಫ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಡಿ. ಸುಮ್ಮನೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಮಾತಾಡೋದು ನನಗೆ ಕಾಣಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ಆರಾಮಾಗಿರಿ ನೀವು.
ಸಾರಿ ಸರ್, ಸಾರಿ.
Do your job. ಆರಾಮ್ಸೆ ಮಾಡಿ. When your video is on, I want you to be with me. Otherwise, you can display dysfunctional behavior.
Okay, sir.
Not an issue. Okay, now. Contract theory. Now, this is where the word dysfunctional behavior has been propounded by Oliver Hart. What do they say is, a firm is an excess of contract because there are multiple stakeholders. With every stakeholder, the business gets into a contract. So that, why this contract? Because contracts mitigate conflict of interest. In the case of an owner and a manager, there is a contract. The principal engages an agent to take certain decisions on principal's behalf. But principal cannot directly observe agent's performance. Why? Principals are many number, thousands and lakhs of shareholders spread across the globe. They cannot observe. So therefore, agents are given that autonomy, that freedom, that flexibility to take decision. Now, will they do so? He says they will only take such decisions which will reward them. Means any decision that is going to give them a promotion or a reward, they will stick to their decision only to them rather than maximizing the value of the shareholders. This he calls dysfunctional behavior. And he also used an example of teachers. Since it's a Nobel Prize winning theory, it will have universal application. You can apply anywhere. He gives an example of a teacher's performance. How is a teacher's performance measured? A teacher's performance is measured by how the students get ranks, grades, or marks. Not necessarily by what is the value that is created inside the classroom by that concerned teacher. So now, if a teacher resorts to dysfunctional behavior, he will give little attention to the delivery in the classroom and try to kind of prepare the students only to get results. This he calls dysfunctional behavior, because his reward is attached to that particular performance measure. Now, taking a cue from there, if I were to, as a teacher, only look at those activities that gives me promotion, and I'm not at all worried about what I deliver in the class. Say, for example, maybe Oliver Hart did not know about API points. He said only marks of the students. Now, when you talk about API points, you try to do whatever the means, resort to all dysfunctional behavior and get those API points, because that is going to give you promotion. But will you really, as a teacher, deliver value to the students inside the class? That is our major objective as a teacher. Now, since your performance inside the class is not at all connected to your promotions, why should you give importance to that? Let me try to give importance to those activities which is going to give me points, which is going to give me promotion. So teaching becomes second priority and all other comes first. So this he calls, this is being expressed in the theory itself. It can be applied to everywhere, whether people resort to dysfunctional behavior. Now, this is one. Next is economic theory of information asymmetry. That's again a very beautiful theory. I like to put it like a story. He gives an example. It's been given by Akarloff. This is a theory where Dr. Vivekananda yaru. Sir, illenagta ide. Nanjan Swami idara, HRDC avaru idara. Dr. Vivekanand. ಇದನ್ನ ಹೆಂಗೆ ನಾನು ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಕ್ಲೋಸ್ ಮಾಡೋದು?
ಸರ್ ಹೇಳಿ ಸರ್. ಗುಡ್ ಮಾರ್ನಿಂಗ್.
ಈಗ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ವಿವೇಕಾನಂದ ಇದಾರಲ್ಲ, ಅವ್ರನ್ನ ಇದು ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಡಿ, ಮ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಡಿ.
ಓಕೆ.
ಯಾರಾದ್ರೂ ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾರೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ, ನನಗೆ ಸ್ಕ್ರೀನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಡಿಸ್ಟರ್ಬ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. He is traveling in a car and is talking to somebody else.
Okay, sir.
And it is visible to me and it is distracting me. No, see, he's still doing that. Can you just tell him?
ವಿವೇಕಾನಂದ್ ಮ್ಯೂಟ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ಸರ್.
ಇಲ್ಲ, ಅವ್ರು ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾನೆ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ನನಗೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕೇಳಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ನನಗೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕೇಳಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಮೇಡಮ್, ಅವ್ರು ಮಾತಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರೋದು.
ಸರ್ ಎಲ್ರದ್ದು ಮ್ಯೂಟ್ ಆಗಿದೆ. ಪಿಕೆ
ಅವ್ರದ್ದು ಇದನ್ನು ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಡಿ, ವಿಡಿಯೋನ ಮ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ಇದು ಆಫ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಡಿ.
ವಿವೇಕ್ ಸರ್, ವಿಡಿಯೋ ಮ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. ವಿವೇಕ್ ಸರ್,
ನಾನ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದಾ
ಸರ್? ಆಗಿದೆ ಸರ್.
ಅಲ್ಲ, ವಿಡಿಯೋನ ಮ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬಿಡಿ. ವಿಡಿಯೋನು
ವಿಡಿಯೋ ಮಾಡಕ್ಕಾಗಲ್ಲ ಸರ್.
ಯಾರ್ದೋ ಮಾತು ಕೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ, ನಾನು ಅವ್ರದ್ದೇ ಅನ್ಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ.
ಸರ್ ಈಗ
ಇಲ್ಲ, ಅವ್ರು ಆರಾಮಾಗಿ ಕಾರಲ್ಲಿ ಕೂತ್ಕೊಂಡು ಮಾತಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡು ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ಇದು ನನಗಿಲ್ಲಿ ಡಿಸ್ಟರ್ಬ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಅಷ್ಟೇ. ಅವ್ರು ಮಾಡ್ಲಿ, ಡೋ ನಾಟ್ ಮ್ಯಾಟರ್, ಬಟ್ ಅವರು ವಿಡಿಯೋ ಆಫ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಂಡ್ಬಿಟ್ರೆ ಬೆಟರ್. ಓಕೆ, ಎಸ್, ಓಕೆ, ಸಾರಿ ಫಾರ್ ದ.
ಸರ್ ವಿವೇಕ್ ಸರ್,
ಬಿಡಿ ಇವರೇ, ಬಿಟ್ಬಿಡಿ. Okay, now this is a theory. See, it talks about, I'll just give it the crux of this theory. He gives an example of a second-hand automobile market, second-hand car market. In second-hand car market, the cars of all makes and models come together in a pulling equilibrium in one place, which he calls as pulling equilibrium. what is the quality of the cars which have been presented there? The quality ranges from excellent to a lemon. He uses the word lemon. What does lemon expresses? Lemon is a inferiority quality car. But the sellers of the lemon will put that inferiority quality car temporarily in such a good condition that even when a buyer goes there, he will look at the lemon. Lemon looks more attractive. Lemon looks more attractive because it might have gone through lots of stress, or it might have resulted in accidents, and their history of doing the servicing is not proper. But those facts are known only to the seller, not to the buyer. He conceals that information and temporarily puts it in such a good condition that even an excellent car will look very bleak in front of a lemon. Now what happens? The seller, that this is a lemon and this is an excellent car. They all come under the same bracket. We call it as pooling equilibrium, and all the cars command the same price because people do not know about the quality of the cars. They suffer from a disease called as moral hazard. They are not truthful about the quality of their cars. They temporarily put it in good condition and therefore it mimics a good car. So there is no difference between a good car and a bad car. All the cars looks exactly similar, and he calls it as pooling equilibrium. Pooling equilibrium. Now, since they're of the same size and the make, they command the same price. He calls it as equilibrium price. But the sellers of the good quality cars are not happy with the price because they know that their car is a superior car, qualitatively superior car. Therefore, they're not happy with the price. They come out of the market. In doing so, they give credible signals. What is the signal? They're not happy with the quality, the price, because their product is a qualitative product. Therefore, they are coming out. And this happens until and only lemons remains in the market. And everybody comes to know that these cars are lemons. And the market collapses. This is a simple theory given by him. There are 3 or 4 takeaways here. One is moral hazard. No, moral hazard is a character where you are not truthful about the quality. Therefore, there is an information asymmetry. You have the information, you are not putting it across to the buyers. Second is, because there is an information asymmetry, the buyers think that they are all qualitative cars and there is an equilibrium price. But the sellers of the good quality cars are not happy with the price. Therefore, they come out. And in doing so, they give credible signals. Say, this is important. You're giving signals to the markets about the quality of your car by pulling out of the market. And the market collapses because only lemons remains. So now, does it happen in a corporate? What is the takeaway for the corporate? Do you see that there is information asymmetry in the corporate also? Just tell me whether the corporates will divulge all the strategic details to all the market participants. Will they do so? Because you're in a cutthroat business. You cannot afford to speak out everything to all the market participants. There has to be information asymmetry. Only managers know the information. They know the strategic plans. 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, where I should be. They'll be knowing about it. But will they divulge all the strategic information? No. Then there is an information asymmetry. Then how to give credible signals? Did you know what Ratan Tata did in the last year? He said, you don't worry about the margins. You be alive. That's enough. That's a credible signal. Do you know Asian Paints? What did they do last year when the pandemic was there? They said, we will give you 10% hike in the salary in spite of the pandemic. They did not divulge their strategies. This is a credible signal. Can dividend declaration be a credible signal? Yes. So in giving these credible signals, you are speaking about the quality of your company. Information asymmetry is always there. As I said, you cannot divulge everything to the market participants because you are in a cutthroat world. The competitors are breathing down your neck. So then what do? You look for other means to give these credible signals about the quality of your company. This year, what did Ratan Tata said? This year he said, whoever who lost their lives because of the COVID in the company, their spouses will be given employment. So that is the credible signal. Those signals, they speak about the goodness of the company instead of divulging all your competitive strategies so that your competitors will give you a run for your money. So therefore, these are the takeaways. How does a good company give credible signals? How do they establish a separating equilibrium? I also teach that in the class. I ask the students, see, you're all MBA students from University of Mysore, Bahadur Institute of Management Science. All of you have got 7.5 CGPA, all of you. Then when you go to an employment market, you're all pulling equilibrium, you're all pulled together. But now for your prospective employer, what are you supposed to give? You're supposed to give that credible signals about the quality of your knowledge, skills, and attitude. Then only you can differentiate. Marks are similar. So the credible signal is given only in the interviews to set you apart from others. This is called as credible signals. It is also called as signaling theory. Okay, now coming to capital structure theory. Modigliani and Miller original position, most of you might be knowing about it, but still I'll give you a brief. It very clearly says use of debt in the capital structure is imperative. It matters to the value of the firm. The value of the firm has got great relevance to the mix of debt and equity. In his original position, he says that using debt in the capital structure is beneficial to the value of the firm. And in his in his original position, he says whatever is the mix of debt and equity, it has got nothing to do with the value of the firm. That is his original position. Capital structure irrelevance position. Then coming to the revised position, he adds corporate taxes also, and he says interest is less costly and it is tax deductible. Therefore, using debt in the capital structure enhances the value of the firm. But traditional trade-off theory says you have to be very careful with the debt. How long you should use the debt? You should use the debt only to the extent to which it adds value to the shareholders. Beyond that, don't use debt. Don't do used excessively. And all these capital structure theories are unison in saying that whenever you go for an unrelated diversification, use more of equity, use less of debt. It should be equity driven because you are trying to get into a place or a product or a division or a business on which you don't have any expertise. So therefore, don't take the risk of putting into debt into it. But what did Mallya did? He funded entire his new business through a loan only, through taking loans from the banks. So it is completely contrary to the traditional trade-off theory. So when you look at these theories, these are the takeaways. When you look at these theories and see their application in the corporate world, let me see the application in the corporate world now. Now Infosys, why I'm taking Infosys? It is powered by intellect and driven by values, right? And Infosys is supposed to be one company which is really doing well in terms of ethics and morals also. They have a ethical compliance committee and they have a whistleblower policy. So therefore, everything that they're doing, they're across the globe. They follow atomistic competition. You can just see the Infosys shareholding, where only 12.75% is promoters shareholding. All others are in the public domain. This is what we call it as atomistic competition. Means diffuse ownership structure. No one will have an influence to alter the prices of the shares. Everybody is in a level playing field. In spite of that, why did I take Infosys as an example here? It all happened because of one person called as Vishal Sikka. Probably you might be knowing about it. He was the first non-Infosian to become CEO and MD. When he was appointed by the original promoters, his compensation package was 45.8 million. Why he was drafted in? He was drafted in only because they were thinking that the revenues were falling down. They thought we are only all the people, the original promoters only are becoming CEOs. Let us take a neutral viewpoint. Let us put an outsider into the business. I mean, into that CEO business position. Let us see whether you will have a different dimension. It's all inbreeding now. Let us see an outsider. With that intention, they brought in Vishal Sikka. And do you know, within only 2 years, Vishal Sikka was able to draw a salary of 487.6 million, a 964% increase. And all the eyes of the original promoters got red. So we brought these companies to such a level with all our hard work. And you might be knowing that Narayan Murthy happens to be a son of a school teacher from a small town in Kolar district. And to come out with such a entrepreneurial venture, which has been accepted as a model entrepreneurial entity, which is it is like a rags to riches story, founded on strong ethical principles. And this fellow within 2 years drew 1000% increase in the salary. And also he gave certain packages to people who are exiting. 17.4 crores is another cause of major difference. So then immediately what they did, why did he do so? No, what was his acquisition? See, the original Tata's model was vertical growth. Vertical growth. Vertical growth means you're trying to explore more and more deeper down into your software businesses. But this fellow suddenly got into active model, that is empire model of business, which is completely contrary to the original business model. So therefore, there was a tussle between the promoters and the CEO, and he has to quit. And then, for a brief period, Nandan Nilekani became interim CEO. And they wanted to try again. They didn't want to, just leave it at that. They tried with another non-Infosian by name Salil Parekh. And still he is the CEO right now. And soon after Salil Parekh became the CEO, again there were a lot of murmurs saying that he is instigating employees to inflate profits, misrepresenting lucrativeness of the deals, and also he is abusing travel privileges for himself and his families. There was a whistleblower complaint against him immediately. And at that point in time, I remember there were a lot of discussions happening in the media. Why is it that all these things happen only when non-Infosians become the chairman? Non-Infosian become the CEO. When all the 7 founder members of Infosys were the members, nothing used to happen. But why is that? Why the timing of all these problems happen only when a non-Infosian is there? There were all the people were also doubting the integrity of these promoters also. They just wanted to tell the market that they want to draft a newcomer, but unfortunately they could not survive, and therefore I am only coming back. So there were a lot of debates that happened about the integrity of the business model of the promoters. But luckily, this whistleblower complaint was investigated, and he was declared as innocent. But at that one day where it was, whistleblower complaint was registered, when the news spread to the market, one single day, nearly 16% of Infosys shares were eroded on one day, because it's all market efficiency. Again, there is one more theory, market efficiency. The moment you release information to the market absorbs that information and immediately adjusts the share prices. If the information is a positive information, prices go up. But if it is a negative information, prices go down more than the positive information. People react to negative information more fanatically than to the good information. So now, Enron, I will not go much about it, but I'll just say, simply I will say, see, this is the mother of all these scandals. When Enron scandal came into picture, everybody said that it is an accounting scandal, because all these auditors, the auditors and the promoters came together and they tried to window dress the balance sheets, the figures. And it is a classic example for an accounting scandal. But let me tell you, I just read one article on this particular from a World Bank series, wherein they clearly said to call it as an accounting scandal, it is just looking at the tip of the iceberg. The larger iceberg is all these promoters took decisions in their personal interest, not in the interest of the owners. And they siphoned off the public money to their personal ventures. They showed it in the balance sheet as special purpose vehicles where they did not exist at all. When the statutory auditors and the promoters come together, anything can happen. The role of the auditor is under scrutiny even today. So therefore, all the wrong decisions taken by the promoters without informing the shareholders, it is because of this the losses started happening. When losses went increasingly, out of your control, then they started brushing with the accounting. Accounting came very late. The business was already under ventilator. I mean, the ventilator was given by accounting. The business was already collapsed. The ventilator was given by accounting just to stretch it for 2 or 3 or 4 more years. You can just see it did not happen. See, all along it was the America's most innovative company. Do you know that Kenneth Lay was the energy advisor to George Bush? Such was the level of intimacy that these bigger companies have with the for the political bigwigs. Unfortunately so. But on one fine morning, it went bankrupt. And it said, I've been, inflating your incomes for nearly 4 years. Means accounting came only late. If you look at only from an accounting perspective, it's a good case study for accounting people. How did they? Even this is also a good case study for accounting people. Satyam is also a very good case study for accounting people. Why? Because they know that, see, this is how, see, you can see the slide. The actual was 321, reported was 5,361. So difference is 5,040 crores. So how accounting manipulation can be done? It is not looking at only accounting manipulation. Really, what went wrong? Say in case of Enron, nothing went wrong in its core business, which is energy. They wanted to make short-term gains by investing in shares of companies which are offering internet services, because those are the days where internet was introduced. So they siphoned off this money, the money from the company, to put it in .com shares. But unfortunately, they entered the market at the peak of the boom and paid high prices, taking heavy debt. And when the .com crash came, revenues dried up, but the debt remained. Now, where are they? Where are these people? After this particular giant scandal, there was lots of debates that happened with respect to the corporate governance. Immediately, one comprehensive legislation was brought in US called as Sarbanes-Oxley Act, which also allowed for capital punishment for those people who misuse public money. They will be hanged on to death. And Ken Lay, the CEO, he was convicted on 10 counts and he faced up to 165 years in prison. But fortunately for him, he died of heart attack because he knew probably that he could not serve that sentence. And these are the people, this is the syndicate that I'm talking about. Whenever things happen, it does not happen from one man. It's a packed board, as agency theory said. It's a packed board. Everybody, only this lady, Sharon Watkins, she is the whistleblower who made this particular. Now, this is also the same case. They were doing extremely well till the time Ramalinga Raju made a very famous statement, confession statement, saying it was like riding a tiger without knowing how to get out of it, without being eaten by the tiger. By that time, what were they doing? You can just see this is a classic case of information asymmetry. Information asymmetry theory, this slide only explains. What did they do? They knew that they're siphoning off the public money into their private ventures. They've created Maita's infrastructure. All the money is being diverted there. And these money is being, the promoters of this Maita's infrastructure, their own family, friends, and wife and children. And they know that something wrong is happening. Therefore, they started selling their stake. You can just see, in 2001, the stake of the promoters was 25.6%. At the time of this, the scandal which came to light, it was 5.13%. Why did they sell all these shares? Because those shares were commanding high prices. They knew that something wrong is happening in the company. Let me sell. But this information was not available to the other market participants. Only the management knew because of its proximity to the decision making. They knew the fraud is brewing. Therefore, they decided when the sun is shining, let us make the hay. Let us sell all the shares, make profits. But the poor shareholders, hard-earned money being invested in, they did not know what is happening. And then when this came into picture, they have sold nearly 95%, only 5% remained with them. Again, this is a moral hazard. I mean, this is an act of lemon. This is an act of, only lemons can do that. And in one of my discussions, somebody asked, why are they called as lemons? Why not apples? Is there a special reason as to why they should be called as lemons? ಆಮೇಲೆ ನನ್ಗೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗ್ಲಿಲ್ಲ ಸಡನ್ ಆಗಿ ಅಪ್ಪ ಏನ್ ಎಂತ ಕ್ವಶನ್ ಕೇಳ್ಬಿಟ್ರಪ್ಪ ಅಂದ್ಬಿಟ್ಟು ಆಮೇಲೆ ನನಗೆ ಸಡನ್ ಯೋಚನೆ ಬಂತು ಲೆಮನ್ಸ್ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಹುಳಿ ಅಲ್ಲ ಅದು ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಸೋರ್ನು ಹುಳಿ ಹಿಂಡೋ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಇವ್ರು ಹುಳಿ ಹಿಂಡೋ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡೋರಿಗೆ ದೇರ್ ಫಾರ್ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಎಸ್ ಲೆಮನ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಅಂಡ್ ಆಫ್ಟರ್ ಎಫೆಕ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಯು ನೋ
If you put 1 drop,
yes sir
Mahesh sir.
Because if you put even 1 drop of lemon into the milk, sir, entire milk will spoil.
Yes, therefore these are the drops. See, these are the drop. These people put the drop, and then the entire company is spoiled. That's a good analogy. I'm trying to connect theory and practice now. Now Volkswagen. Yes, with this I will stop and I will continue in my next session. Now Volkswagen, do you know what is the problem with the Volkswagen? I also own a Volkswagen. Therefore, this always plays at the back of my mind whenever I teach. Take this example. They have got. You know that it's in Germany. It's a German automobile company. 150 years of trust built, and it is called a Volkswagen. Common man's car. Actually, the pronunciation is Volkswagen, common man's car. It's like Maruti 800 in India, there in Germany. And they wanted to capture US market. In US, Toyota was leading. Why was Toyota leading? Because Toyota was giving more mileage. And you know that Volkswagen is a very sturdy vehicle, which has got a lot of weight, but Volkswagen could not give that much mileage. So therefore, all these, the CEO and his team of board of directors decided, let us do some trick. What is that trick? They inserted a software, a cheating software inside the engine. When it goes for an environmental clearance under standard testing conditions with American Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, it would pass the test. Means it would emit only such carbon and nitric dioxide which are well within the compliance. Once the test is over, before they are sold to the customer, they used to remove that software and it would be sold. Once it is sold, it would emit more emissions beyond the compliances, but it used to give more mileage. Only to dupe the environmental protection agencies, they did this trick. And all these wrongdoings, let me tell you, will, as Akarlov said, the market will collapse. because there will be some sort of an equilibrium that is going to come about. How is that happened? Suddenly there was a whistleblower complaint, then it was tested on road and it was caught. And do you know what is the level of injury that has happened to the company? 11 million cars were rigged like that, and CEO accepts the responsibility, and the company pledges to prosecute those employed, and see the depletion in the Volkswagen market. 95 billion was the market capitalization. Within a span of, say, 12 days, it came down to 60 billion. See, 35 billion value erosion in 12 days of a company which has built its repute for 150 years across the globe. This is what I call from Hall of Shame, from Hall of Fame to Hall of Shame, like a pack of cards. 1 billion is equal to 100 crores. And it is in dollars. $100 means $7,000. $7,000 for 1 million into 35 billion. You just imagine the amount of money that is lost because of one decision by the board of directors who have not consulted any of the shareholders. And I gave this as a case study for our students to find out what is the extent of loss. See, we call this as, in finance language, agency cost of managerial discretion. You are given a discretion to run the company, but you abuse that discretion. And therefore, what is the loss? The loss is called as agency cost of managerial discretion. One student came out with an answer. Can you give me a figure for that, an amount? He said, sir, 11 million cars were recalled. This is the total amount. Second, the fine that is paid by Volkswagen to the environmental agency, this much. Value erosion in this slide, 35 billion. And the trust deficit, loss of trust, is a question mark. When will you get the trust back? You never know. So this is a huge loss that we are talking about with respect to the decision of one manager or one group of board of directors and how it affects the entire group of companies. And also, see, since I do discuss with different academic platforms, one participant from Kerala told me, how can that happen with Volkswagen, with a company called as Volkswagen? He said, it is not publicly announced, it is subject to verification. He said, till that time, the ownership of that Volkswagen, the shareholders were mostly from UK, Germany, European Union, and US. But when this particular scandal happened, when you look at the ownership structure, most of the shares were held by Middle East and the South Asian countries, and less by the European Union. And what is the connection between that to this is not established, but let me tell you, this is also one proposition that we have to look at. How can a company of the stature of Volkswagen do that? There must be some pressure. There must be some pressure. And where did the pressure come from? Only the owners, only the board of directors cannot do that. There must be some pressure from the board of directors which represented the shareholders. So this is still, as I said, to be verified. Okay, with this I'll stop. I'll just continue with the rest of my presentation. Because we have to look at the answers also for all this. Whether we have enough legal teeth to arrest all these things. Let us see that in the next part. Don't you think that there is a close relationship between theory and practice? I would like to stop sharing now, and I would like to talk to you now. Don't you think that these theories, when you look at a broader theory, if we were to look, say, Volkswagen as a product-related scandal, it's a product-related scandal. Because there is something happened in the product. They did some rigging in the product. Satyam is an accounting scandal. It's purely, window dressing of the balance sheet. Now, when you look at only from one particular angle, say accounting angle, a production angle, a HR angle, or a finance angle, you can also study, but you look little broader and look at all these theories right from Adam Smith, who had that, to agency theory, information asymmetry theory, capital structure theories. I'll come to that in the later cases. When you try to apply the output of these theories to these corporate evidences, don't you think that there's a larger and clearer and holistic understanding of these corporate wrongdoings? With this question, I leave you. And if there are any additions to what I said, I'm open for it. And we are now talking about, say, we are in a NEP age, right? NEP age means National Education Policy, which talks about interdisciplinary angle to a problem. When you look at a problem from a holistic perspective, you will understand the small little nitty-gritties of the problem very well, and the solutions that you are going to give you will be more holistic. Instead of looking at a situation from only one angle, look at a broader perspective, helicopter view, holistic view. Interdisciplinary, futuristic, and holistic is the mantra of National Education Policy. So if you see these cross connections, I think you'll be able to understand these cases better when you apply these theories into these evidences. And moving forward, what are the legal consequences of that? Yes, I'll stop here. Would like to listen to you.
Mahesh, sir. I think this dysfunctional behavior and information asymmetry is universal. It is a universal concept. Because you take any field, sir, in almost all the fields, feeders will be the sufferer. Because the taxpayers and the shareholders, or even in education field, the students will be sufferers if these two exist: dysfunctional behavior and information asymmetry. And we know that in case of, especially in corporate sector, I think proper leverage is not maintained. Because we know some capital structure theories, they have suggested, their experts, they have given an over opinion regarding the debt equity mix. But in spite of the fact that if we are going to look into the recent examples, most of the entrepreneurs, they're concentrating on debt portion only. And my question is, what happens if a debt level crosses some limit? What are the effects? In spite of that, even the debt providers, I think there is somewhat some shadow of information asymmetry is there on their part also. That means these entrepreneurs, they are not giving proper information. Because of the absence of knowledge, they are providing this one funds to the corporate sectors, or even by knowing the facts, they are providing, sir.
No, I did not get your question properly, but I understood the tone. You said that information asymmetry is very much there, and debt is very much a very important component of any business existence. But when you give debt, or when the banks or any financial institutions provide a debt to the business, they are not doing due diligence. They are not appraising the quality of the person who is taking the loan, and they're just giving it simply like that. And that is the reason why businesses are collapsing and even the banks are being badly hit. Is that the question?
Maybe.
Adarva?
Yeah, yes, sir. Because the debt providers must be very careful, simply they are giving some financial assistance to the corporate entrepreneurs. They know the fact what is going to happen in the future. Because if there is any hike in the debt level, they know the consequences.
No, in spite of
irrespective of the,
if at all they are giving the loans, in spite of knowing the consequences,